In my never-ending quest to find a cheaper alternative to Copic markers, I discovered these Artist Loft brand at a local Micheal's. How do they compare? Let's find out. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome once again to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And from time to time, we do a little product review. That's what we're going to do today. I've done a lot of marker reviews on this channel. I'm a big fan of using markers as a medium, and people seem to like the marker reviews. But I haven't done one in a while because I've been searching for. There's a lot of markers out there. I did one with the Hoo brand a while back. And those were nice, they're cheap, but they're still not like these. These are, of course, the Copic markers. These are like the zenith, the pinnacle, the creme de la creme of markers. And there's a lot of other brands similar to Uhuhu that are really great for the price, but I'm still searching for something at a lower price point that can stack up to these, that can really match those. And specifically this, the brush tip. Most of those other markers don't have that. So based on that, you know, I've looked at some other ones, but they all have the chisel tip, which is fine for certain things, but a lot of people really dig that brush tip. But I was in Micheal's and I came across these, the Artist Loft brand. I don't know if this is an actual Micheal's brand. I've seen them on Amazon too, so at first I thought it was a Micheal's brand. But anyway, they have a brush tip, and they are a little bit less than Copic, especially if you use those Micheal's coupons, if you can get those, and that's kind of what I did. So I stocked up, I bought as many of these as I could, but I'm curious, when you look at them, they look like Copics, but how do they stack up? We're gonna find out. I've got this illustration here of this kind of space bounty hunter guy. I'm gonna do photocopies of this, two separate ones, and we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison so we can see in real time, well, not real time, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit, I think, but side-by-side we're gonna see how the Copics stack up to how the Artist Loft brand stack up to the Copics, so let's get to it. All right, let's look at the difference between these two marker sets. Of course, we got the Copics, and there's our Copic markers. And as you can tell, they've got a chisel tip on one side, and that famous brush tip that kind of sets them apart from most other markers. Now we have the Artist Loft, and we'll see here, as you can see, we have the chisel tip. Most markers do have that chisel tip, but most other markers don't have this. That's the brush tip. And that's what's going to hopefully be a good alternative to the Copic markers. So let's kind of show them side by side. I like the design of the Artist Loft. It's kind of got sort of a teardrop or almost like a guitar pick type shape to it. So it's a little different, a little original, and it feels good in the hands. So let's look at the packaging here. This is how they come when you buy them in a set. They come in sets of 6. I think they have bigger sets. I bought them in sets of 6, and I used the Micheal's coupons, so I basically, you know, you get those 40, sometimes 50% off coupons. Took them in, you know, separately. I would buy one pack and then another time I'd come back, and sometimes the availability is a little difficult buying the sets, but you can also buy them separately. I bought some of those separately as well. But packaging's nothing to write home about, but usually people take the markers out and they put them in, you know, bins or whatever however they tend to store their markers. But some other markers come with a nice kind of, you know, carrying case and things. Not so much with these, but that's all right. That's not a big drawback, at least for me. Here, I'll show you what the Copics look like, how they come. And of course, you can buy them separately and everything. This is one of the bigger sets. I think there's 2 different big sets like this. But you know, they fit a little better, I guess. But you know, even Copics, a lot of people take them out of that and kind of set them and display them a little differently. And however you want to do that, that's fine. But I want to kind of show you what an actual set is. The things that I like about these Artist Loft is they've got some really good color pairings, which, you know, the 2 greens here go really well together. Like one is like a little lighter, and they're not totally off. Like the blues, I mean, you could take those 2 colors and make it darker and make your shadows with the darker one and everything. And same with these, even though they don't look like they're similar, but they do mix. So most of them mix really well. So I like, even though they're smaller sets, the colors that they put in each set, they did a good job with that, I think. Even like the big Copic set, sometimes I'll go and I can't find, there's markers in there that don't have another marker that kind of goes with it, like if you're doing like highlights and shadows or whatever. And here's the grays. They're more of a neutral gray. They don't have a huge selection, so their grays are more neutral, so you're not going to get a cool gray and you're not going to get a warm gray, somewhere in the middle. And that's, we'll get into the pros and cons and everything. I'll start talking about that, but there's not a huge selection of colors, but as you can see, there's a lot of blues. So I ended up with a lot of blues, and there's some colors that they're really lacking on. Orange, I noticed. I don't know that out of all the sets I have, I didn't get any orange out of any of the ones that I got. I know they do sell some of them separately, so I'll have to start looking at that. But let's get down to the sketch itself. Okay, on the left we're going to have the Artist Loft, and on the right we're going to have the Copics. I'm not going to talk too much about the Copics. I've talked about those on other reviews, but let's just say that's what we're striving for. So that if the Copics are the best there is, we're going to take the Artist Loft and we're going to see how they compare. So let's talk about the pros and cons. I'm going to talk about the pros first. So obviously the big plus is the brush tip. Most other Copic sort of clones, if you want to call them, whatever you want to call them, do not have that brush tip, so that is a huge plus. Like I said before, the quality of markers they're really nice. These Artist Loft, they feel nice. They don't feel chintzy or anything. Some other brands kind of feel like they're just like the plastic's not great. They've got kind of it's not like a slick feel to it, so you feel like you get a better grip. It's kind of got like a more of a matte type feel, I guess. So that was kind of cool. That's something different you don't get with most markers. And as hopefully you can see, they blend really well. I didn't have really any problems with them blending and everything. They don't, because of their shape, they're not going to roll off your table. Some markers tend to do that if they're really round. So that is definitely a plus. The caps of the Artist Loft will fit on the ends, which isn't the case with my particular Copic markers. The newer ones, I think, will do that. Mine are older, so they don't fit, and that's kind of a pain, because I like to snap them on the back. Sometimes I just leave them sitting there if I'm trying to go really fast or whatever. So yeah, and like I said, great color pairings. When you buy the sets, you can, like these two greens that you see here, those were part of the same set, I believe. And they work really well together. So that's good, especially when you're not dealing with a lot of different variety of color. And the major plus is the price. Usually a set of 6 costs around $20, which is already cheaper than Copic markers. But if you can get them from Micheal's with that 40, assuming you have Micheal's in your area. If not, they do sell them online. But if you can get them from Micheal's with that coupon, that 40 or 50% off, you're going to save a lot. So they work great with other alcohol markers. Like most markers, the names on the cap, you've got your numbers and then just an actual name, whatever you want to call it, whether it's ice blue or whatever. So sometimes sometimes the numbers are easy to kind of see what matches what, and sometimes just that color helps if you're saying to somebody else, well, I use the sand or something like that. So that's kind of cool. The numbering system, I don't really know. Like I said, they don't have a lot of numbers. I don't know how it works, but like I'm looking at one that's a yellow 12. They don't have 12 different yellows, so I don't know where they come up with that exactly, but anyway, maybe they're planning to do more shades in between. I don't know how that works, but they're, like I said, you can buy them in sets, and they are sold separately. I believe there's 56 different colors total right now, but let me go into the cons of the Artist Loft. So they bleed just a little bit, not a lot. It's not like a major thing, and if you kind of anticipate it, it's not really an issue. The brush tip is a little stiffer than the Copic markers, so it's not as flexible. some of the colors on the caps are a little off, but I kind of find that's the case with most markers. Most of them are pretty close, but like I've got one that's called Sand, and it looks nothing like the the actual marker once you start laying it down. But I've had that issue with almost every single marker set that I've any kind of brand. They usually some of the colors on the caps, they don't match perfectly. So that's not a huge thing in comparison to some of the other ones. One of the things you want to be aware of with the Artist Loft is you make sure that when you put the caps on that they snap good. And sometimes it's hard, they don't come off that easy. So you want to make sure that they're on there, because sometimes they don't push all the way. So just something to watch out for. Like I said, they're limited as far as the colors. There's 56 colors, so that's a little bit of a drawback. They're not always in stock when you go to Micheal's. Most of the time I go to find one and they don't have the one I'm looking for. They'll have like maybe 2 of the 6 different sets that they're supposed to sell. So that's a little bit of an issue. They are not refillable like the Copics, so that's definitely a drawback. It would be nice if they were refillable, but not the case. But they are cheaper, so you could just buy a new one, I suppose. If you buy the sets, if you went up the route that I did and you buy the different sets, you are going to get some duplicates. I think out of the sets that I showed you, I got 3 duplicates. They're the mocha, the pastel blue, and the denim. I've got 2 of each of those. So that's kind of, I wasn't too crazy about that. Like I said, packaging, not a big deal, but the packaging's not that great. Now, these are all my first impressions. I haven't been using these for a while. I have heard people say that sometimes the ink runs out fast on these Artist Loft. I can't really vouch for that yet, but that might be something to think about. The other thing is I heard that the tips can fray, and I don't know. I've got a pretty light hand when I use markers. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but just something to be aware of. So other than the cons I spoke about, I mean, these are really nice markers, and probably the closest to the Copic for, a budget marker that you can get. And that's usually, if you live in the States or you live somewhere where they have Micheal's, they're easily available. Like I said, you can also find them on Amazon. I will leave an affiliate link if you want to go that route. But for the price and just the fact that they had that brush tip is a major thing. And I use all kinds of markers, so I'm going to use these along with my Copic markers and my Hoo-Hoo and my Chameleon and my Pantone, all the different markers. I use them all together, so they're not quite the quality of Copics, but they're one of the closest ones that I've found in this kind of budget price range. So I would definitely give them my stamp of approval for that. All right, so there you go. Here we go. This is the Artist Loft Copics. What do you think? They are pretty similar as far as the results, how they use, how they perform over time. Maybe a different story, but all in all, I think this might be a good alternative to the Copic markers. I'm still going to go and say, Copics are probably the best, but they're a lot more expensive, and if you were looking for something that maybe isn't going to break the bank, I might suggest the Artist Loft, especially with those Micheal's coupons if you have Micheal's in your area. And you know me, I'm just going to mix them up with all my markers. I don't really, I don't use Copics exclusively. I'll mix them up with all the different markers, and they all work fine. So I suggest you use the same. If you're worried about there not being as many colors with the Artist Loft, buy a few Copics, and anything that's maybe similar to the Copic colors that you can get in the Artist Loft, maybe do that, mix them up, maybe get some Hoo-Hoos, throw them in there. For me, it's whatever works, but I'll leave that up to you guys, and hopefully that'll give you some advice or something in your pocket, in your arsenal, when you go out to spend some cash on some markers. So I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here in the Art Lab. There's a lot of other great content on the channel, so click that subscribe button and you won't miss a thing. If you're an aspiring evil genius, visit Serkworks.com for all your mad science supply needs. And if you want to contact me, hit me up in the comments section or follow me on social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.